We are so honored to have with us this evening luminaries who have supported C100's missions. Now, someone who will lend his congratulations to C100 on this occasion, will you all please welcome China's New York Consul General, Ambassador Huang.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is really a great honor and a pleasure for me to join so many friends and distinguished guests. Let me first congratulate the Committee of 100 on the significant milestone of 30th anniversary and your successful opening of the 2019 annual conference. I would also warmly congratulate the laureates of the C100 Lifetime Achievement Award to Mr. I.M. Pei, Mr. Maurice Chang, and Mr. Maurice Greenberg. This is a well-deserved recognition of your personal and the public achievements, which also reflects the C100's vision and long-term efforts in respective areas. For many of us who have been following the growth of China-US relations, the Committee of 100 is always a very dear and unique friend. It is unique not only because it has so many prominent members, but also because it's an institution of US citizens of Chinese heritage. As Chinese Americans, you represent two different cultures. Through the continuous efforts over the last 30 years, you have brought fantastic chemical reactions into this relationship between our two peoples. The outcome of such relations is not a knowledge about how widely we differ, but how commonly our values and interests can be shared. And that is the basis of any sound relationship. Looking back to the history of China-US relationship, we can easily conclude that it's a common interests and responsibilities that have brought our two great countries together. Some 150 years ago, tens of thousands of Chinese workers joined the American counterparts in building the Transcontinental Pacific Railway. Some 70 years ago, China and the United States, as allies in World War II, fought shoulder to shoulder to defend the world peace and justice. 40 years ago, out of common vision and interests, leaders of our two countries made the groundbreaking decision to establish diplomatic ties, thus opened a new chapter in our bilateral relationship. 40 years later, this relationship has come to another juncture. On one hand, our trade, economic, and the people-to-people exchange are in full swing. But on the other hand, there have been growing misgivings about China's national policy and long-term strategic intention. Some depict China as an irresponsible stakeholder, misbehaved competitor, and even security threat. Some argue the US should disengage with China, as the two countries are distinctly different in the path to development. Frankly speaking, these opinions have lost sight of how much China and the US have benefited from each other's development, and how much they can achieve together by a shared vision and a common responsibility. Here, I would like to elaborate on 3 points. First, China and the US are still bounded by strong common interests and responsibilities. After 40 years of development, the bilateral trade volume between our two countries have reached $333.5 billion US dollars last year, which is 1.8 billion US dollars per day. China is America's fastest growing export market. Our two-way investment has registered more than 240 billion US dollars, supporting 2.6 million jobs in the US. I'm a consul general, a new consul general. My district covers 10 states. So I have to say something about these states. Take my consular area into account. Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and Vermont achieved double-digit growth in their export to China in 2017. 570 Chinese companies such as China Railway, China Construction, Fuyao Glass, Huang Group, and the Greenland Group, just to name a few, have invested in the Northeast 10 states, creating thousands of jobs for the local people. More than 120,000 Chinese students are studying in this region, making up 1/3 of all Chinese students in the US, which is around 400,000. The New York University Shanghai, Wenzhou King University, and the Tianjin Juilliard Institute have set good examples for higher education cooperation. At the same time, China and the US share extensive international obligations, from climate change, tourism, terrorism, and cross-border crime, from the Korean Peninsula, Iran to Afghanistan. Almost every hotspot issue needs coordination between China and the US. Last week, China announced it will add all fentanyl-related drugs to the list of the controlled substances. This is the latest progress in our bilateral anti-drug cooperation, which also carries positive significance to the global effort of drug control. Without doubt, in spite of all the differences, China and the US are more interdependent than ever. The right approach to addressing our differences is dialogue. Confrontation gets us to nowhere. We're happy to see that the latest rounds of trade talks between the two sides have made important and substantial progress, with a bright prospect of reaching a final deal in the near future. We hope the two sides can continue to implement our two presidents' consensus in Argentina, bringing our economic relations back on track, and work jointly towards a relationship of coordination, cooperation, and stability. Second, China's development will create even more opportunities for the United States. Last year, China celebrated the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up. Reform and opening up is a game-changing move for China's development, which also has yielded considerable benefits to the US. Looking forward into the future, China will only open wider to the world. Last month, the National People's Congress passed a new foreign investment law, which will better ensure that foreign invested enterprises can participate more and compete equally in the Chinese market. China's Import Expo has been institutionalized as a national annual event. We hosted that one in Shanghai in November last year. And the second expo will be held in Shanghai this year, also in November. China's opening up measures will be introduced quarter after quarter and year after year, adding momentum to the future cooperation between our two countries. With rapid economic and social development, China's middle class now tops 400 million. According to the new report from the market research firm called eMarket, China will become the world's largest retail market in 2019. It is estimated that in the coming 15 years, China's imported goods and services will exceed 30 trillion and 10 trillion US dollars, respectively, bringing huge opportunities to the US and other countries. I believe I don't have time to continue with this. But can you allow me just one more minute? The third point, China and the US show the great responsibility in promoting the progress of humanity. I'm not going to go detail on this, but ladies and gentlemen, the logo of the C100 shows a big character of Ren, which means people, in the shape of two strokes supporting each other. I cannot think of a better demonstration of how Chinese culture views this very basic element of all societies. As a human, we rely on each other, give each other support, and thrive on common ground. China-US friendship has its roots in the people who can appreciate mutual understanding and constructive dialogue. On that note, I hope that the C100 will continue to make leverage of your unique strengths as a cross-cultural and cross-ethnic group organization to help build a mutually beneficial relationship between our great countries. I wish you enjoy another and many more 30 years of success. Thank you very much.